Hello, everybody, and welcome to laFlare Radio. Brian Arnold here, aka BT laFlare. I'm joined by my partners Dee Greatest and Hot Rod laFlare. We're in the studio today for our first ever laFlare podcast. We're really excited. We got a lot of great content that we want to talk about and news that we want to bring you guys. First off, I want to start by sort of talking about what laFlare is, what we want it to be, sort of our aspirations, what we're shooting for. We want laFlare to be basically a place that people like us can go to get their news for not only hip-hop, but sports and anything sort of pertaining to pop culture. But we don't want it to be sort of the BS that you see a lot nowadays. None of our content is paid for. Nobody's paying to be on here. These are our opinions and how we view the state of different sports, hip-hop news, pop culture news right now. So when you come and you see our posts, our content, anything like that, you know that it's the truth, it's researched, and it's straight off the chest of how we feel. So I'll start off. Dee Greatest, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am Dee Greatest. Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad to join this wonderful team in laFlare Entertainment. First and foremost, I'm going to be bringing original hip-hop music back into our generation. And, of course, I got to talk about the sports. I got to make sure everybody stays in line, gets educated, because too many people have opinions that are not backed up by facts. And the one thing about laFlare is we're going to be truth. We're not going to speak out of emotion. Everything is going to have support. I'm going to be dropping music pretty soon in October. Look out on SoundCloud. It's going to be a bunch of couplets, bunch of singles. Then the project is going to flow from there. But in the meantime, I'm focused on building this brand that we are controlling. This is our generation. This is the youth. Everything runs through us. The best players in the leagues, the best rappers in the entertainment business, the best singers. We're all in the same age group. It's all 20s or young 30s. And right now we're all being controlled and taught by these older people who are not really connected to our generation. They want to control how we think. They don't understand us, so it's about time we have our own voice. And I'm going to make sure that we are all loud and clear. Now let me pass it to my man, Hot Rod.
What's up, everybody? This is your boy, Hot Rod laFlare, former athlete, and I love to talk sports. We came up with this laFlare to give back to y'all and educate you guys on what we know best. That's all I really have to put into this. Just keep up with us and you'll learn a lot that you thought you knew about already.
I couldn't have put it better myself. What you guys said, as a group, I think we come together really well. We're just really excited to put out what we have, and we hope that you guys enjoy what you see. If you do, please get engaged. Comment on our post, comment on the podcast. We want to hear what you have to say. If you ever have any sort of input, just don't hesitate. We'd love to hear from you. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at laFlare_media. Also, if you're coming from there, you can check out the website at laFlare.org. So I want to start off talking about music, and then later on in the podcast, we'll segue a little bit more into sports. But to start off, Gucci Mane, a lot of news from Gucci over the weekend. Originally, his album was supposed to drop this last Friday, Mr. Davis, a really highly anticipated project from Gucci. It's been pushed back now to October 13th, which is actually just days before the premiere of the rapper's wedding special on BET. Are you guys looking forward to that album as much as I am? I know that I'm really looking forward to it. He put out some good stuff over the summer, but this is going to be his most complete work that he's put out in a long time.
Yeah, I think Gucci, I'm definitely interested. Big Gucci fan, especially with me being from the South. But with Gucci, this is going to be one of his best works, especially from when he first got out of jail. Like, I've never really seen someone come out of jail and completely 360 the way Gucci Mane has. And I really think he's putting a lot of time into this. He's had some great tracks this year and the past year as well when he first came out, especially the one with Drake, The Both. That's a really popular track. And I really think that he's going to do a lot of good work on this one and really surprise some people.
Well, I'm going to have to be surprised because I'm really not looking forward to this project. To be honest with you, I'm still one of these believers that thinks this Gucci album must be a clone because this is not the Gucci that I've recognized or grew up with. I am not from the South. I'm from the Midwest, Illinois to be exact, Chicago stand-up. The thing about Gucci is, to me, he is the same artist every time. Don't get me wrong. I love trap music, more so the old school trap, But at the same time, the Gucci Mane today is not the Gucci Mane I can say is going to be classic. Like, I don't see him running the streets like he used to. It happens when you're in the game for so long and you tend to get stale. Fans start questioning like who you are now as you're growing up. There's nothing wrong with growing up. Ever since he's came out, he's been having a wonderful life. He's turned his life around, let go of the lean. His wife, girlfriend has been holding him down for the longest, even while he was in jail, and everything is great. But with that in mind, it sounds like to me that Gucci is fed. He's not hungry no more. He's making the music for his core fans. But in order to really strike the game, you have to get everybody. And to me, he's had his time. That's just,
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
I see that. So basically, you're saying that you think he's gotten a little bit complacent. He's putting out the same kind of stuff, and he's basically just putting out what's going to get out there, depending on who he's featuring with or whatever.
Yeah, it's not his fault, though. Like, he likes catering to his genre, his fan base, his culture. He doesn't really try to, like, from my point of view, expand his craft. The one time he's tried was when I remember a couple years ago, he tried to rap upon some New York beats, and he even admitted himself that was like one of the worst projects he ever made on the Breakfast Club, and he said that was a mistake. So he's getting back to his roots. Don't get me wrong, I love going back to my roots. I respect where I come from. But at the same time, if you're not there anymore, you got to be who you are now. I mean, we will always look at him as the one who killed Young Jeezy's partner for trying to kill him. But at the same time, he's not doing that anymore. And you're not being lyrical. Your flow is the same. The only thing is different is your presentation. So what can you do to stand out, especially with these new artists out now that are more lyrical and the fan bases are growing more? Really, the younger generation is really sticking towards each other. To me, he's going to be one of those legends who are going to be great for features, but once they make albums, he's just not going to sell.
Well, I mean, we'll see when the album comes out. I would have to say I'm somewhere in between both of you guys. What he's been able to put out since he's come out of jail has been pretty impressive, I do have to say. Considering how much traction it's gained, everybody sort of looks out for it. I think the sales sort of speak for themselves a little bit, considering how many people pick up on it. All his songs right when he came out, Back on Road, and like Rodney said, both those were really hitting, and they got on the radio. They got a little bit of radio play. And then over the summer, some of the songs he came out with as well really got a lot of traction. So in one way, he has done a really good job at immediately coming out and being extremely relevant. And then again, in the same breath, he hasn't done a whole lot to sort of change up his flow and change up his style. There hasn't really been a whole lot of artistic progression there. So I definitely can see what you're saying with that for sure. So moving on, well, a little bit more about Gucci Mane. I want to talk about it. He came out with his book, The Autobiography of Gucci Mane. I'm going to get a hold of that, and over the next couple weeks, I will bring it on to the show and talk a little bit about it, because it sounds like that's a must-read if you're a Gucci Mane fan. It'd be really interesting to see what he has to say and just about his life, because it seems like he's definitely had a pretty interesting road. Anybody that has come up and reached stardom, you got to think that they've got some interesting things to say and some interesting stories in there. And then lastly, about Gucci, he had his book signing over the weekend. He got ran up on by PETA members talking about not using fur and being
A vegan.
A vegan, yeah. And it was pretty funny. You can see the video on our social, either on Facebook or Instagram. He sort of just stood there and smiled and moved on to the next thing. But the old Gucci, I'm not sure if he would have reacted in that kind of a way. I don't know if he would have stayed as cool, calm, and collected.
He probably would have turned them to a chinchilla.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Moving on to the next topic. Cash Me Outside girl, now known as Bad Bobby, got signed by Atlantic Records over the weekend. What are your original thoughts on that? We'll start with you, Dee Greatest.
You don't want to start with me, man. I see, this is what's wrong with the game right now. Atlantic, I'm coming at you. As a fan of the game and as an artist who understands the blood, sweat, and tears you put on this microphone into your craft, into your artistry, this is what everybody's talking about. This is why they've been trying to kill hip-hop for 10 years. This is what Nas was talking about when he released his album. You're not signing artists for their quality. You're signing them for sales. You're signing them for publicity. You're trying to get storylines out of it. You know that girl is trash. I'm just going to keep it 100 with you. She is awful. She is not a great rapper. The one time I heard her say something a little bit impressive, it was with somebody else's flow. Shout out to Quentin Miller. Because she definitely sounded like new school Drake. I had this conversation with a couple of people, and they tried to hit me with the, she's talking about her life, what she's doing. You should be supportive of that. No, you shouldn't be supportive of that. This girl, because she's not a woman. This girl.
She's 14 years old.
Exactly. She's not a woman. She's gotten famous for disrespecting her mother, calling audiences, I don't know if I could say what she called them, but it starts with the H, garden tools. And all people have been doing outside of criticizing, which is great that they actually have a mind to do that, but they're promoting as well. They're reposting, they're sharing. They keep talking about her. You can't make problems go away if you keep them in existence. And I'm sorry, this signing is a problem. It might not be a blemish to the game, but it's a blemish to this year. This is just terrible to me. It's terrible.
I agree. Sorry, Rod. I'll have you come in right after. I just want to say that Atlantic Records, that's what they do. As soon as somebody gets a little bit of traction and they know that those records are going to push, they sign that person on spot. They were the first to get on Uzi Vert. They got on Cardi B. Anybody that's just remotely hot that they think that they can get in on, they get in on that as soon as possible. I think that this girl is just another example of how people are getting online, using a platform to basically act a fool and get as many views as possible. And she's really good at that. She's really good at getting those views and basically just exploiting her own stupidity for money. And honestly, I think that is all an act, and I think it's been an act from the start. I think that it's almost like the whole LeVar Ball thing. It's just the mom using the young girl to gain as much stardom and basically treat it as a cash cow, pull as much money out of it as possible. She was starting to get irrelevant, and they were like, well, I guess you might as well start rapping.
You took that right out of my mouth. That was my point. That's the point that I was going to go with.
Yeah. I mean, just get a hold of Atlantic Records, get somebody to write a song, get on a beat, and there you go. People are going to listen to it because they already know about this girl, and they already think she's a fool, and there you go.
Yeah, I completely agree. She definitely seemed like she was losing traction and fame from the whole Dr. Phil thing that she went through with her mom. And yeah, especially with someone with her and as many followers as she does, and that younger generation really looks up to her because she's around their age.
Mm-hmm.
I really think that she called up someone with her platform and was like, hey, write me a song, I'll rap to it. No matter how it sounds, people are going to like it. They're going to repost it. They're going to share it. especially with how social media is today.
Yeah.
Anything can really pop off and be viral. So, I mean, on her part, it's smart, it's genius. But Dee Greatest was saying from the game standpoint, it's like
It's sad.
Yeah, like
you
it's
know?
really upsetting and disappointing.
And as people that are truly like fans of the game that want to see things get better, I mean, I think that you guys would agree, like the state of hip hop right now it's not in a great place. Like everybody can agree that we want to push it in a more positive direction back to what it was in the past. The quality of what's being put out right now just isn't there. And that's a perfect opportunity to segue into XXX Tentacion and talk a little bit about this kid. Originally, I hated him. I thought Look at Me was a pretty trash track with a good beat. And then he came out with his album last month. And I started to actually appreciate him a little more because I thought that the album was actually pretty well put together. He had some good tracks on there, and he really has his own sound. And I can respect somebody that has their own sound. But all the things that he's done over the past month, all the domestic violence allegations that seem to be true. I mean, he did some pretty nasty things to this girl, basically kept her hostage. Allegedly. And if that does come out to be true, this dude is not somebody that I would be okay with supporting by any means. And I don't think that anybody would want to support him. But then all the other things he does, he's always online making videos, basically just trying to get views. And I'm not really buying it, and I'd really like to hear what you guys think.
Well, it's tough when it comes to artists because it's always that, that tug of war of, do you hold somebody's personal life in connection with their artistic life and their job? Do you really connect their craft to it? The same with athletes. I'm one of those people who tend to separate. It's hard, especially with R. Kelly. Very, very hard. But one thing is, I'm not a fan of anybody anyway. So it's easy to not like somebody as a person. But what I am a fan of is music. What I am a fan of is hustle and performance. And when I see great quality, I just give that the credit. I'm not the type of person that's going to look you up and trying to know more about the artist. I just be like, all right, that song was hot, and then there it is. As opposed to when it comes to XXX, I actually like him in a sense. He's one of those artists that are actually doing what they say they do on music. Now, if you agree or disagree with their lifestyle, that's one thing, but from the people I've grown up with and the people I've listened to, none of these artists are really role models to me. So I never really even hold them to that stature. But that Look at Me video was just beautiful. The message, although I'm not really in the All Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, I'm not going to that debate. You can know about my personal views at a different time. But the message was clear, and it was clear because it went over the people who had the issue that he was talking about. It went over their heads with the hanging of the small white kid who was acting, as opposed to the murders presented way before that scene, the multiple black men murdered, the ones that was murdered in real life when he was hung himself and 2 other black men was hung. But that was no outcry. Nobody talked about that. There was almost a lynching of a 12-year-old boy in real life. And nobody talked about that. And he had to explain that on his Instagram video. But he knew nobody was going to understand because they wanted to focus on the white kid being lynched. And he's trying to show that all murder is wrong. And when you have an artist like that in this type of day and age, it's rare. It's rare. I know, Look at Me, yeah, I can understand where you're coming from. I thought it was just a hype song, I don't even care about the lyrics because they were stupid. But it's really more so of an attention track. This was planned out, and I can respect that. And hearing his other songs, performances, he does care about artistry. So he has a little supporter. I'm hoping these allegations are false. I really do, because this kid has a lot of talent to make a stamp on the game. It would be a shame if it went to waste.
That's true. Those are some actually really good points, and I agree with that. You know, when the video came out, everybody was really freaking out about the white kid getting hanged. When you're right, like there was so many other things in that video that people decided to ignore and just focus on the one thing, and that's sort of a representation of where our media is at right now and what we decide to pay attention to and what we don't. That's why we're here right now. That's why we have laFlare, because we want to send that message. We want to pick up on what's real and not put out the BS that you see in today's media. Rod, do you have anything to add about that?
I don't really like XXX.
Yeah.
I didn't like him from the beginning. I don't like him now. I just never really got into him. And with the whole domestic violence thing and what he did to that girl, like allegedly, he still hasn't came out and denied it. Like, he's came out and put videos of telling people that whoever doesn't support him, like, don't write about him or don't do anything or don't talk about him. But he still hasn't came out and said, I didn't do it. And even on Kodak Black's track, Rollin' Peace, he said the girl that he wifed came out and told the world he beat her and didn't say anything else about it after that. So I feel like it is allegedly, but from what I've seen so far, I feel like he knows what he did and he could possibly get away with it because of where he is right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's very hard to speculate, and you definitely don't want to condemn him when it hasn't been proven. But what has been alleged against him are some pretty nasty acts. So you just originally, how you react to it is like you back off a little bit. He does have a lot of potential, and he's put out some really good stuff already. Like Dee Greatest was saying, I don't want to see that go to waste, because I think that even on that Rollin' Peace track, he showed a different flow. Like, he's already shown that he can change it up and do different things, and Kodak really, I thought, brought something different out of him on that track, and that was pretty cool. That I really liked that track, actually.
It was okay.
Yeah, I really like that track as well.
Yeah. All right.
So let's transition, finishing up music a little bit. I want to talk about some of the albums on the way before the end of this year. A$AP Rocky, Eminem, Kanye, and Lil Wayne are all supposed to drop new projects by the end of the year.
Oh, man.
Now, some of those, Eminem, it's been a long time, so who knows if that's going to actually come before the end of the year. Lil Wayne, all that stuff with Birdman, I'm not sure. It seems like he's come out and said that he can release it on his own accord now, but it's also very vague. Like, we don't really know what's going on with that. But out of these four, who are you guys really looking forward to hearing some new stuff from? And how do you think that's going to affect where the game is at right now?
Well, I think the only one that can truly affect the game is A$AP, because this is his era. The A$AP following has been ablaze ever since it started. The people he's connected to, Ferg, Ian Connor, no comment. Just so many people that are relevant to the game today. Of course, A$AP, and he's probably the top of the chain of that circle. That does not mean I'm looking forward to that album the most. I feel like he could just have the most impact. Now, the album I'm looking forward to most, of course, I have to go with Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne has a lot to prove. Yeah, I said it. Him, the legend, has a lot to prove. He's been very inconsistent throughout these years. He's been taking some unfavorable takes on recent events, not only dodging, but just disrespecting the movements, especially the Black Lives Matter. And for the fact for you to say that you've never experienced racism, do I have to remind you what happened in OKC in Miami, Wayne? Why did you not have a front row seat, or what did you call I think it was an R word. Anyways, Wayne needs to prove that he still has what he has because many fans have been upset. I feel like the game is just happy that he's here. I don't think he's put out his best work since Carter 4, and that was not even on the level of Carter 3, Carter 2 with our certified classics. Yes, DJ Academics, Carter 3 was a classic.
Oh,
There
absolutely.
is no question about it. That's just hate. This is coming from somebody who does this. The work that he put into that album cannot be duplicated. And apparently, because Wayne hasn't duplicated it either.
True.
But yeah,
I
it's
gotta
definitely Wayne.
agree with you. The hype that surrounded Carter 4 and then how it followed up on that, the way that the leak came out before and the tracks that were even on that, and then No Ceilings came out that year too. I've never seen an artist as hot as Lil Wayne was in 2008, 2009. Not in my memory. I probably started really listening to hip hop 2006.
I'd say from 2008 to about maybe 2013, anything he touched was gold.
Facts.
Anything he touched was on the radio, whether he was featuring, whether it was his own song, anything.
And the Carter 4 might not have been on the level of Carter 3, but that was still a very solid project.
Oh, for sure.
He had some serious tracks on there. One of my favorites, It's Good, with Jada and Drake on that. And then, of course, She Will. I like The View, President Carter. Some really good tracks on that one. When Lil Wayne puts out Carters, you can always expect fire, at least in the past. So hopefully Carter 5 will produce the same thing. But like you were saying, the last couple of years, he hasn't put out a lot of quality work. Even his features have been basically, I would say, iffy, maybe even borderline trash.
It ain't borderline. I'm not going to be the one to be afraid to tell you. It was awful. It was disappointing.
Yeah. So, we'll just have to see what happens. And we've been anticipating it for so long. I can't wait to see. And then moving on.
Wait. We can't move on without talking
Eminem.
about it. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Eminem?
This is a hip-hop discussion. Yes.
I didn't even get my 2-piece in.
Well, no, I was
Go
moving
ahead,
on to. I meant moving on to Eminem. I want to talk more about ASAP Rocky too. Cozy Tapes 2 was pretty good. Not anything. Honestly, it was a little underwhelming for me. I expected a little more out of it, especially considering the level that Ferg and Rocky are both on now. Back when Rocky was really hot at the beginning, Ferg was just kind of
inching his way up.
Yeah. But now, Ferg is almost as hot as Rocky is. And that album that Ferg put out was very good, I thought. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does in the future. But specifically, Rocky, when he puts out his own project, it's usually something special. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then Eminem, I thought that his last album was okay, but he still hasn't really gotten back up to what he used to be.
I agree. Definitely agree. Yeah, like you said, it was okay. All right. Welcome back.
Mm-hmm.
But you can even tell when you listen to the track he did with Big Sean, the No Favors, his lyrics are there. His flow is out of touch. It's not what we look for. It's Eminem.
Would you mean out of touch as in out of touch on his standard or out of touch based on what we listen to now, in our generation or this generation?
Honestly, both. Because if you think about it, a couple of years ago with, what was it, Relapse or the album before that, he tried switching his flow up by adding the accent. And
Yeah, that was Relapse.
Yeah.
And he said, he came out, on one of the tracks, he said, he ran the accent into the ground. He said that was a serious mistake, and it was. Even so, there were a couple tracks on Relapse that were standout. Some people consider that Eminem's worst project, and that's why Eminem is considered as good as he is, because even on his so-called worst project, he had tracks like Beautiful, We Made You. The way he's able to bring in mainstream topics and reference them, there aren't a lot of other artists that can do that the way he does.
Oh yeah, most definitely. You know, we let's give Eminem the proper respect. He is a top 5, top 3 in my book MC of all time. It is not like we can just sit here and say that he, in general, is garbage. Absolutely not. He will never be considered that. You know, when, like I said earlier with Gucci, when you're in a game for a certain amount of time, you tend to just fall off naturally. It happens. The greats in all sports, they don't stay in their primes. With Eminem, yeah, the flow is out of touch with the generation as well, because we're in a generation where we want things to be catchy. We want things that sound good. And Eminem, you know, historically, his flow was never on the level as his lyrics. Now, his rhyme scheme, most definitely. His rhyme patterns is ridiculous. But then again, you would need rap genius to even know that. You would have to actually look at it.
Yeah.
When it comes to the flow, nah, that's not really what he's known for. But, you know, I'm hoping I could see the Eminem that I grew up with. If not, honestly, don't even release the project, man.
Yeah.
Just go out on top, because we know what you are. There's not Eminem doesn't have anything else to prove.
Yeah.
When it comes to historically, the only thing this album might just be doing this for him is to challenge himself, or just to prove that he could last in any era.
Or
But you
even
know
just
what, lad?
bring relevancy to his name.
Yeah, but like, you know what lasts in any era? Classics.
Yeah.
No matter what we listen to on the radio, we're going to hear an Eminem song at some point in time in the month or a week, and it's going to be one of your joints that were a major hit. Just like how we keep hearing "Forget About Dre" still, you know.
Yeah, I mean, with me, the one I'm looking forward to the most would be Lil Wayne. You could say I'm a Lil Wayne disciple. I love Lil Wayne. I've listened to almost all his stuff. I'm actually more of a bigger fan of his mixtapes than his actual albums, but that's just personal for me. Like, I love his dedications, and I think this Carter 5 better be like one of his best works. Like, it has to be up there with Carter 3 for him to bring like himself back.
It's
And
one of those.
because he's been done for so long. Like, this is just my opinion. Like, he's been done for so long, and he's been saying like this Carter 5 was supposed to drop like 3-4 years ago. So for us to wait that long for an album, like, it has to be up there with like some of his best works for him to be relevant and to bring his name up. Like, I was like, when you were talking with Eminem and I brought that up, maybe that's why he wants to drop his album now. Like we know who they are, but kids today probably don't know. They didn't live through what we lived through. Correct. Listening to those guys. So that's what I mean by like bringing relevancy back to their names in terms of kids. They're like younger kids that are younger than us. So I think Wayne and Eminem have the most potential, and whether they fulfill it or not, that's completely up to them and also the listeners as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is really a do or die project for Wayne. Yeah. If he doesn't come out with something special, it's the end of his career.
Yeah.
Facts.
Without a doubt. So, I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say about Lil Wayne. The last rapper who we haven't really talked about, Kanye. Kanye hasn't really come out with a whole lot since The Life of Pablo. Honestly, and it's not a popular opinion, I didn't think The Life of Pablo was all that great.
Oh.
You disagree?
Yeah, I disagree. Oh my God.
Well, just explain that.
Well, maybe I'm the wrong person because I'm in the opposite. I have unpopular opinion as well when it comes to that album. I think that was his best work since his first 3 albums. Yes, I would think it was better than My Dark Twisted
No.
Fantasy. Yes.
No.
Yes, I do. I'm sorry. Yeah, we could go on to a Kanye album ranking, whatever, but Life of Pablo to me is fourth. The first three albums, I say, College Dropout, Graduation, and then the second one,
Late Registration.
Late Registration. Yeah, Life of Pablo. Then my yeah.
And then you would put My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy
Dark Twisted. Yeah.
after that.
Yeah,
And then
five.
Yeezus would be
Jesus,
probably
that
like
was even gonna mention.
last. Yeah.
Yeah, I was even gonna mention.
Yeah, I thought Yeezus was, I didn't really like Yeezus either. I can respect the fact that he's not afraid to go on the track and just do whatever. I mean, his creativity, there aren't a lot of other artists that get on that level of creativity that Kanye gets on, and most of the time, he really pulls it off. When I say that I don't think The Life of Pablo was that great, I definitely am saying that in reference to like what we expect from Kanye. I'm just saying that I was just expecting something more out of it. There were definitely some really great tracks on there, but sometimes I just feel like there's not a lot of the depth that we've come to expect from Kanye anymore in what I'm hearing from him. His ability is there and his flow and his lyricism, but the actual depth of what he's saying, it seems pretty shallow to me.
Yeah, I can see that, but like once again, like I mentioned earlier, when you transition into life, when you're not around the same areas that you were beforehand, things change. The Life of Pablo was a current Kanye album. It wasn't a growing up trying to make it Kanye album. One thing about Kanye that I do like, he's not stuck in his past. He's always updated. His music is always related to what he's doing at the moment. So with that in mind, I can understand where he's coming from. A lot of Kim K references, a lot of clothing line references because of what he's trying to build. And, with his album, with his videos, putting Trump in there. I can appreciate it for what it is. Not the lyricism, because I don't think he writes his lyrics. But I've been thinking that for years, ever since I found out Rhymefest wrote Jesus Walks. I just don't think Kanye and lyricism should be in the same category. He's an entertainer. He's not an MC. He's a rapper, artist. He's a rapper. He's an artist.
Mm-hmm.
He's an artist. But his production, I would never question that.
I think that's what when we look at Kanye, what makes him such a special artist is his production.
Yeah.
There aren't very many others that can do what he does.
Yeah, but this is not about his last album. This is about the current album. So let's talk about that a little bit. To be honest, he has a lot of material that he could cover because of 444. Jay-Z gave Kanye an opening. We probably didn't even would think, because with Jay-Z on the Kill Jay-Z track, when he dissed Kanye, before hearing that, honestly, if I asked you what the next Kanye West album was going to be about, what would you answer with?
I wouldn't even know. Probably just about his mental instability, like having to go to the hospital.
Or even living life with the Kardashians or something like that.
But those last two answers, didn't that already sound like his other albums in the past? The Kardashians, The Life of Pablo. The one you answered is the one we had Love Locked Down and what was that? 808s and Heartbreaks.
Yeah, 808s.
You know what I'm saying? So knowing how Kanye is, it would be a bad move for him to remake an album that's already done. Jay-Z made Kanye fresh again because now the people want answers. They want a response. They want to know how he feels about what Jay-Z's been saying. And Kanye, he can stretch anything out. What the little few lines Jay-Z talked about, Kanye could turn into about 10 songs.
Yeah.
And with his rants on stage, and he could tie that into it. His feelings with Beyonce now.
Mm-hmm.
Kanye is emotional. He's a personal rapper. But with that in mind, it can make some very, headline worthy music.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see supposedly the album's supposed to be sort of a collaboration with Kid Cudi.
Oh God.
Yeah, that's sort of my thoughts exactly. I mean, one of my favorite albums of all time is Man on the Moon, but seems like came out with Man on the Moon. His projects before that, his mixtapes were pretty solid. But then it seems like once he got the fame, he ran out of stuff to really rap about. He really got into drugs. He fell off pretty hard. Man on the Moon 2 was okay. And then after that, I mean, there's nothing. There's nothing to credit him with.
No,
I mean, there are a couple tracks on Man on the Moon 2 that were okay. But could a collab album with Kanye bring him back? Could that bring back his career a little bit if he performs?
Maybe. I don't know. That's a lot of dirt to look over. And then it's not like Kanye's the cleanest one. I don't think it's enough. I'm sorry. I don't. I think with people, when they do with joint collaborations, they like the idea of the artists working together. Like Watch the Throne. Like, you thought about Jay-Z and Kanye, but when we talk about the work that these artists has done, we talk about their solo work. So I think it'll be nice for the time, like when Drake and Future made their What a Time to Be Alive, we still just talk about their solo work. We don't even, once it's over, we stop caring about it. Collaboration albums are just good for the time, looking at it historically in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. And when you look at Watch the Throne and you look at the Drake and Future project, a lot of that had to do with the fact that when those two projects came out, those two rappers were the hottest at that moment. And it just made sense for them to come together on a track. Right now, Kanye and Kid Cudi, they've always been together through good music.
Yeah.
They've had some good tracks together. There's just a lot up in the air, and it's really hard to predict what it's going to be like. So as far as albums coming out, that might not be the most highly anticipated for me, but it's definitely the one with the biggest question mark. Close to Wayne, because we don't really know what Wayne's going to come out with, but
yeah,
I'm really looking forward to it because I just don't know what to expect, basically. So any other music news that we didn't cover so far that you guys think we should mention?
Well, to put a little wrench into what you guys were talking about, supposedly Jay-Z and Kanye are reportedly planning to meet face-to-face soon.
Ooh.
And their feud. So maybe if Kanye was directing this towards Jay-Z, maybe he pushes it back a little more and changes it up, or I don't know.
I mean, you'd have to imagine that even with this collab with Kid Cudi, he's got to have his own thing coming out probably early in the next year.
Yeah.
Probably, it's been a full year since Life of Pablo, just about.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that was sourced by TMZ, so this is legit.
Oh, yeah, if it's coming from TMZ. Yeah, for sure. So let's transition into sports a little bit. Starting off talking about Kyrie. He went on First Take the other morning and basically said, well, the first thing we'll cover, he said that he didn't owe it to LeBron to tell him that he was requesting a trade. I'll start off with my view of this. I'm a Cavs fan, so I will admit I'm a little bit partial, but I just want to say that through the years, they definitely, I don't know if it was a show or not, but they made it seem like those two, LeBron and Kyrie, like they were pretty tight. And when you win a championship together, I think that's a bond that it's going to last a lifetime. They played together for a couple of years. They were together probably like almost all the time. And it's hard for me to believe that they weren't on a level where he would at least give him a heads up like, hey, this is how I'm feeling and I'm going to request a trade. I just wanted to let you know. Like, he doesn't have to ask him if it's okay. He doesn't need to get his permission. But to give him just a common courtesy heads up, you think that would be a thing.
Yeah, that I agree with that. I mean, my big thing with this whole situation is Kyrie is just disrespecting LeBron's name. Like, that's my big thing. Like, LeBron is LeBron. LeBron's been LeBron since 2003. We can all agree to that. He's been doing his thing. He brought Cleveland into irrelevancy. And without LeBron, there's no Cleveland. But when LeBron left originally to the Heat, Kyrie was supposed to be the next guy for Cleveland. Cleveland never made the playoffs in those 4 years. And LeBron comes back, and they're in the finals the first year. So upon thinking upon that, Kyrie never really tasted success until LeBron. So for him to disrespect LeBron like this and disrespecting his name in general is kind of like, it rubs me the wrong way. Yeah, you're Kyrie, you know, you hit the big shot to win the championship. You've done your thing. You're top 5 point guard in the league, in my opinion.
Oh, okay.
But
yeah.
in my opinion, sorry. But at the same time, you gotta give homage or like credit to what brought you up there. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like he's not giving LeBron any credit for what they've done. And in my eyes, I feel like he sees himself as an equal to LeBron. And maybe that's why he feels like he doesn't need to do that.
But that's not news.
I know that's not news, but it's wrong.
I mean,
he's not an equal to LeBron.
No, we know he's not, but is it wrong for us to tell a player to not want to be the best and not think that he's the best player on the court when that's your profession?
Not when it's apparent and clear.
Nah,
it's
I don't
clear.
know, because no, I'm not saying it's not clear. No, don't get me wrong.
Clear.
LeBron's the best
player in the league.
No, that's clear. I understand that. But in a sports world full of upsets and overcoming and constantly torches being taken, and with that in mind, it's not like LeBron has been undefeated in these finals. And it's not like Kyrie hasn't been contributing. I mean, the way that Kyrie played in the 2016 finals, it was him that outplayed the MVP. Who was LeBron's matchup? Harrison Barnes at the small forward position? Yeah, if I was Kyrie, I would get a little big-headed too, because the unanimous MVP in the league can't guard me. I would feel like I am a top-tier player in the league. I would feel like I'm top 5 or on the same level. I would think that I'm sort of untouchable. And to say that he's been disrespecting his name, I don't think he's been disrespecting his name. For one, this would not be a headline if this was James Jones. This would not be a headline if this was Iman Shumpert. The only reason why this is a headline is because Kyrie is an all-star. And it's because Kyrie has a name attached to him. If it was any of these role players, we wouldn't care. That in mind, there's nothing wrong with the player to want to see how good he can be. Now,
I'm not disagreeing what he's saying. Like, yeah, be fine. Like, Kobe didn't want to be with Shaq, and they both ended up being fine.
Before that, Shaq wanted to separate from Penny.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's fine that he wanted to, but I just feel like the way that he's gone about it isn't right to me, especially with how he's been so successful with LeBron and how he didn't really have any success in the league without LeBron.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when LeBron left Cleveland, they were so bad. Kyrie wasn't there for 4 years because he wasn't there the first year. And so that 1 year where they didn't have LeBron or Kyrie, that was worse than any Brooklyn team I've ever seen in my life. With that in mind, when you are in a rebuilding stage, it's with the knowledge that it's going to take some time to get there. LeBron didn't make the playoffs his first year when he was with Cleveland.
He made his 3rd year, right?
Something like that. I think so. So with that in mind, Anthony Davis, he made it to the playoffs one time by accident. And some people put him in a top 5 category. I don't, but some people do. DeMarcus Cousins, elite talent, never been to the playoffs. He hasn't taken up to much success, but sometimes it's what's around you that holds you back as well, because it's not like Kyrie played with anybody that was on his level at that time too. Mm-hmm. Not everybody can be Paul George. Not everybody can be LeBron. Not everybody can be Allen Iverson. Sometimes some players need that second shift. Now looking at his new situation, he's going to be successful in Boston.
Yeah.
He's going to be, especially how bad the East is. Mm-hmm. I think on our page, we posted an over or under for 49 games for Boston. I was like the only person who said over, because people are really focused on the roster of the Celtics. I'm looking at everybody else. Outside of Cleveland, maybe Washington, everybody else is awful.
My thing,
everybody's awful. So It's not going to be the same situation as how he was in the beginning of his career, especially with Gordon Hayward.
My thing with the C's and why I don't think they may be as good as everyone thinks they're going to be is I think they're going to get killed on the boards every night.
I agree.
They're going to start small. They'll be able to play switch defense. They'll be able to switch on the perimeter and do all that stuff.
That's what they do.
But
Yeah.
if they encounter a team like Pistons on one night and then like the Heat on the next night and have Drummond and Whiteside, they have to worry about those guys. They're going to get killed on the boards. And I look at rebounding as like the trenches in football. If you're not winning the trenches, it's very hard to win basketball games. Or football games. So if you're not winning on the boards or there's a huge gap difference, I feel like that can really hurt you. And if you have a bad shooting night, you're done. They have to shoot really good every night to, they have the players that they can score, but rebounding's really like one of the big parts of the game. And I feel like they're probably the worst in the league at it now.
So you think a team that was first in conference would have issues with a non-playoff team because of rebounding, where they were never a great rebounding team anyway, and all they did was elevate their offense?
They elevated their offense, and they lost a lot of defense as well.
Yeah, but so did Detroit. Like, KCP was a huge piece that they had and lost since he went to...
Who they replaced with them?
We don't know.
Avery Bradley.
Oh, okay. I mean, with that, we seen what Kyrie done to Avery Bradley, though. So it's not like Kyrie's going to be afraid with that. And then Avery Bradley, he's only 6'2".
But
he can't guard Gordon Hayward.
I'm just saying, listen, like, on an NBA schedule, every player is not going to play great every night. I'm not saying this is a playoff scenario, but I'm saying in an NBA season, when your glaring weakness is rebounding, and every team knows that, like, one night, if you're not shooting well, you could get beat by the Pistons or the Nets because you're not shooting well. You can't rebound. They're going to get all the boards. They're going to get offensive rebounds. You know what I mean? So
I hear you.
That's just a huge Achilles heel for them that I think will affect them a lot more than people are talking about.
My thing is they were just never a great rebounding team, never had great rebounders anyway.
Amir Johnson was okay. Olenek was okay.
No.
Horford was okay.
No.
But now all they have is Horford.
I don't think Olenek or Horford or Amir Johnson were great or good rebounders.
They were okay rebounders, but they only have Horford now. And Baines is okay, but he's not going to play more than 15 minutes a game.
Well, the way they're set up, he might. I don't know.
They don't have anybody else to play at the 4.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So, like, even if a team like, let's say they play the Pelicans will look like an amazing team that night against the Celtics.
Well, I don't know because the Pelicans don't have the personnel on the perimeter to contain the Celtics. It was just, they're too...
Don't they have Tony Allen?
They have Tony Allen and they have Rondo. Rondo
is not a great defender anymore.
But with those two towers, you never know. He could pressure more. He has Anthony Davis to back him up now with block shots. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, a lot of these teams, like a lot of people are just, looking at it on paper and just giving their opinions like we are now. But we're never really going to know until we actually see them play. And that's what I'm really trying to, get across right now.
Yeah, the title's going west anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter.
Probably.
So, would you guys, the power rankings came out today, and they actually have the Celtics ahead of the Cavaliers. Would you guys agree with that?
No.
No way.
No way at all. What? ESPN has been crazy recently.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I completely disagree.
Wait.
Even without a healthy...
Are they both top 10?
Yeah, they're both top 10. I think Cavaliers are 6th and the Celtics are 4th.
Celtics are not a top 5 team.
It's the BPI rankings, right?
Yes.
Oh, well.
Yeah. I'm not really a huge analytics guy anyways. Like, I like analytics and I like the use of it, but I feel like analytics has kind of, like, changed. I wouldn't say ruined, but changed the game a lot. And I'm just more of an eye test guy. Like, I rather watch. If I see you're playing good, I don't need analytics to, tell me who's playing good and who's not playing good and stuff like that. So that's just me from my personal standpoint. But
See, I'm different. I appreciate analytics. The numbers are very important to me. However, I like analytics when tracking progress.
Yeah,
I don't like analytics
exactly.
and making
I like the
predictions.
use of it. Like, it can be very, very helpful, especially for me. Like, I kind of think more of like a coach in a sense. But the use of it is great. But when you're like over analyzing everything and you're using too much analytics, I feel like it kind of ruins like the direction or whatever your team's trying to do, in a sense.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's the Celtics. It's Warriors, Rockets, Spurs, Celtics, Thunder, Cavs, T-Wolves, Raptors, Wizards, Bucks. That's the top 10.
That's the right 10. Just
Yeah.
some order differences. I don't think Boston is better than the Thunder. I do think Cleveland is better than the Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
A lot
I
of
think
people
Cleveland's
say-
better than the Rockets. It depends on how healthy IT is. I think
not
Cleveland-
regular season. Not regular season.
I think Cleveland. Yeah, you're right. You're right about it. Regular season. Houston's probably gonna just
Houston.
outshoot everyone and just outscore everyone.
Yeah, especially if they get Carmelo.
Mm-hmm. Getting into that. Supposedly Carmelo already has his mind made up, or his camp already thinks that the trade should be done by Monday.
Yeah, I've seen this coming. I had this conversation over the summer before I joined the LaFlare team. I predicted that Carmelo was not going to be in New York by the time the season starts. And I actually had the Rockets on the list, and this was before reports were even out. I just felt like that made the best sense for his basketball career. I said that before even Chris Paul got there. So when I was like, do they still have a chance to get Carmelo? Am I just going to be wrong with that one? And they said there was opportunities, to trade guys like Ryan Anderson to get Carmelo. I'm like, oh, my God, that is a juggernaut. To me, that will put them above the Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Chris Paul and James Harden alone will put them above the Spurs. But with Carmelo,
Yeah, there'll be
That's good,
one
yeah.
team that's very, very intriguing to watch, or that'll be very intriguing to watch, especially with those three guys. I mean, Chris Paul's one of the best to ever do it in terms of being a leader and being a floor guy, and James Harden might butt heads with them at first because he's used to having the ball in his hands the last couple of years, 100% of the time, and now he's probably gonna have to play off the ball a little more. We don't know if he's gonna butt heads with it or not, but I think he might a little bit, especially if Carmelo's there. Carmelo's kind of a ball stopper in a sense, but with D'Antoni and that offense and those two guys as ball handlers, their offensive game is going to be insane, especially with all those shooters.
One team that we haven't mentioned, the Timberwolves, I think can compete with any of these teams.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I would go as far as to rank them above them, but who knows? By the end of the season, they just might be.
I think the T-Wolves will be a better playoff team than they are a regular season team. Because I feel like in the playoffs, teams are more, they have a set rotation. They'll have like 8 guys. They're not going to play everyone. You play a team 7 games, so you'll know what they do. So it really comes down to like one-on-one basketball at the end of the day. And the T-Wolves, in my opinion, have like 3 guys that are really good at one-on-one basketball. Like they have Jimmy Butler, Andrew Wiggins, and Karl Towns. And Jeff Teague, he's really, really fast. So if you have a point guard that's lacking and slow, he can really take advantage of that. So I really think they'll be a team that no one wants to play in the playoffs if they can figure their stuff out.
yeah, I feel like the Timberwolves are a 2-year team right now. I don't feel like they're going to make that. They're going to make the playoffs, but I think they're going to be more deadly next year.
Yeah.
I feel like the opposite. I feel like they're going to be a better regular season team than a playoff team because they don't know who they are yet. With these, they have many new additions.
Basically the whole team.
Yeah, but kept that core and kept the coach. At the same time, we got to one thing that we all forget about factoring in when having these basketball discussions about these teams are egos. I mean, you mentioned it with Chris Paul and James Harden, which I don't think will be an issue. But when it comes to that big of a transition, I feel like it's going to be some growing pains. I feel like depending on who they play, I don't feel like they'll be a top 4 team when the season ends. I feel like they may be 5th or 6th. I feel like If they go 6, they're getting out the first round. They just don't have experience.
Mm-hmm.
Their best players outside of Jimmy Butler don't have experience, and it's not like Jimmy Butler has a great experience, unfortunately. Me being a Bulls fan, we weren't able to do a lot with Jimmy.
Or get a lot for him either.
Oh, no, we got more than we give him credit for, man. He's been into some bad positions, and...
No, I'm saying, like, in the trade. Like, you guys didn't get anything for him.
I actually like the trade, to tell you the truth.
Really?
I really like Zach LaVine and Chris Dunn. I wanted Chris Dunn in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
I really did. Now, he's disappointed in a rookie year. I get that. But at the same time, I could also say the Timberwolves disappointed last year. To me, as a collective unit, they did not grow. When Zach LaVine gets off an injury, I feel like he's going to make a great impact. He's already a better shooter than Jimmy. He won't be close to a defender Jimmy is, but in this day and age, offense has been beating defense these days. And we need shooting.
Well, it all depends on their training staff, too, because we know the Bulls aren't very good with ACL injuries as well. So
I mean, yeah, it's hard. Yeah, that's the only thing. I
think the trade would be completely different if Zach LaVine never tore his ACL. It would be a completely different mindset.
I feel like if he didn't tear his ACL, the trade would have never happened.
You don't think so?
No. You don't trade a player like Zach LaVine when he's at 100%.
But Tibbs loves Butler.
I understand that.
I think Butler elevates them to something they never thought they could get to with LaVine.
Yeah, but he does that today. That team, for them to be that young, if they would continue to grow with each other and let the Warriors get older, the Spurs get older, the Rockets get older, because a lot of these players that we talk about on these teams are in prime now, while Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns are not even close. With Zach LaVine, as they get years by, they will be the new big three. They will be the new talk. They would be like how Milwaukee is going to be in the East. And yes, watch out for Milwaukee. They will run the East once LeBron leaves. That's a core.
If they can keep Giannis.
They're going to keep him.
I don't know. There's been a lot of rumors about him and his free agency coming up and whether they're going to keep him. I mean, it's a couple years away. Few years away, or a couple, but they're already starting talks about it.
I mean, they always happen with when you see a star player, nobody wants to see them in a small market. People were really pulling for Tim Duncan to go to Orlando and team up with T-Mac and Grant
I
Hill.
heard he almost did.
He almost did, but he stayed, and honestly, he wouldn't have had as many titles as he did.
No way.
So he did the right thing.
So we're running a little long on time. I just want to cover one more topic, a little bit more of a lighter topic. Kevin Durant has been running amok on social media all summer, and it really came to a peak this past week. A fan tweeted at Kevin Durant, said, "Man, I respect the hell out of you, but give me one legitimate reason for leaving OKC other than getting a championship." Kevin Durant responded in the third person. He didn't like the organization or playing for Billy Donovan. His roster wasn't that good. It was just him and Russ. Imagine taking Russ off that team. See how bad they were? KD can't win a championship with those cats. Really making it seem like KD has another account that he uses to respond to people that criticize him with basically like a fake name, so that he doesn't have to respond to people as himself. He can stand up for himself as a ghost. What are your thoughts?
They actually found the page. I'm actually looking for it right now.
Found the page. Man, I mean, can we say what he said was wrong? I don't think so. It's bad because he wasn't real about it. If he didn't speak in third person, he would have spoken first person, this would be a whole different conversation. I feel like we would have been completely blown and probably would have been more appreciative that he was honest. It still sucks that he left Westbrook hanging, but at the same time, you got to do what's best for your career. Don't get me wrong, I am nowhere near close to being a Kevin Durant fan. I didn't like him in OKC. I was never on that boat, but that's for personal reasons. But when you have an opportunity to win a title, even though it's going to change the shift of the league, you have to take that. You have to take that.
I just think it's wrong for him to, yeah, we all know it, but just out of professional respect, he shouldn't, even if he did say it as himself, to come out and say that about Billy Donovan and his former teammates isn't really right.
And it's like, especially with after him winning it and coming out and saying that, it's kind of like rubbing it in their face in a sense, especially with how he left. I was a big Kevin Durant fan till he left. So once he left, it was just like, wow, like, I can't believe you did that. Especially, I mean, going to Golden State, yes, it was the right move. They ended up winning a championship, but that same team that he was bad-mouthing on that tweet was up 3-1 on the team that won 73 games in the season. So
it was Kevin Durant's fault.
Yeah, it was his and Russ' fault that they lost. It wasn't those guys around him. So for him to come out and say that, it's kind of like, damn, like, that's messed up.
Yeah. And once it came out, he apologized, and he also said that he's just so distraught with himself that he hasn't slept in days. Like, he can't believe that he took it to that level.
He also even said that at first he regretted signing with Golden State.
His agent, or his really close friend, came out and said that a few days after signing to Golden State, Kevin Durant called him at 4 a.m. and said, like, why did you let me do this to myself? Why did you let me go to the Warriors? Like, why would you let me do this?
My big thing on that is the timing of that whole story kind of is like a little fishy to me.
Yeah.
I feel like it was sort of more like a PR move in a sense to sort of like help his image after what he said yesterday, because it kind of came out like right after that.
Doesn't help it that much, though. He's still...
No, I'm saying they attempted to use that as a PR move, but it's obviously not working.
I mean, he came out today or yesterday and said, like, I'm human just like you guys. You know, you can't expect me to be perfect. But even, like, human error, like, he's just doing things that aren't very mature. He's saying things that... Why does he feel the need to, every little thing that's ever said about him, he feels like he has to defend himself? And it's like, if you have a ring, you have a ring. You don't have to go out there and defend yourself like that. Like, stand by your decisions, stand by your actions, and be confident. It's making him look like very weak-minded and weak-charactered to come out and say these things. And it's just getting worse. Even back in early summer, he was responding to fans that were criticizing him. And when does it stop? When do you just give it up and live your life and keep playing ball and doing the best you can?
You know, I don't have any sympathy for him. He's drying his tears with champagne. So I don't know. He has a history of showing sensitivity. You know, he can't handle criticism well. He can't handle when things don't go his way or for his liking. Like, even when he lost to Dallas in the playoffs way back when they asked him, was he happy to see Dirk finally get a chance to go to the finals and redeem himself, you know, because of his long career struggles. And Kevin Durant was like, no, like, I'm not happy for him. You know, he always said lines that were just off the wall. Been into it with many analysts, called people clowns and questioned basketball IQ. And when the reality it is, you just can't handle heat. So I'm not surprised. It's funny to me. I don't feel sorry for him. The apology was weak. Just play basketball, man. That's all you can do at this point because your public perception is low.
Yeah, I agree.
Whose stock do you think is falling faster right now? Kyrie's or KD's?
Definitely KD's. I mean, Kyrie...
Or not stock, but I'd say public perception.
Also, yeah, I was going to say stock. Both stocks pretty high.
That's what I meant. I definitely meant public perception.
Kyrie... I mean, even though we hate on it as much as everybody has, like, at the end of the day, you got to respect him wanting to do what he doing it for himself, you know? And if he wants to go off and do that, that's fine. It's more how he handled it and the thing he said after that that have really given him a bad perception. But even so, like, whatever. Like, he can go do his own thing, and it's not like he said anything terrible.
And
like,
that's exactly how I feel about KD. I mean, if KD went to any other team but Golden State last year, I don't think he would get any of as much flack as he did going to Golden State.
Well, there's one team he could have caught the same amount of flack if he went to.
Well, the Cavs.
Yep.
But the Cavs weren't
That would've
even.
never
The
happened,
Cavs
though.
were never even in the
No, I
sweepstakes
know,
to get him.
I know.
But
I was just talking.
But I'm just saying,
yeah.
any other team that was courting him last year, like if he goes to the C's, no one's really going to give him a tough time for going to Boston over OKC. I mean, Boston was on their way up, and they would have got KD. That would have been their one star, and it would have been him and LeBron in the East. You know what I mean? But he goes to a team that he goes to a team that won 73 games without him, and the team that beat him when they were up 3-1. In the Western Conference Finals. So, like, that's what made it really that big of a deal. And for him to come back and do all this stuff, and, I mean, he was doing it during the season as well and stuff. It's just kind of, like, petty. Petty to OKC.
And, like, Dee Greatest was saying, it's right for Kyrie to have the mentality that he is on that level to make those decisions and lead a team to a championship. If it's not true, so be it, but you do want every player. I don't care if it's Matthew Dellavedova. You want them to have the mentality, I am the best at what I do. That's just a part of sport, a part of being an NBA player.
And I bet you Matthew Dellavedova hit up LeBron when the Bucks offered him his contract.
Absolutely. But then again, Matthew Dellavedova is like,
because
LeBron is father to him. He is a child.
Yeah.
in comparison.
But that's exactly what Kyrie didn't want.
Yeah.
That statement right there. He doesn't want to be looked at as one of LeBron's sons or LeBron's little brother. He wants to be looked at as a man.
He already won a championship with them, you know? I mean, like, he didn't succeed in anything without LeBron. Like, he got LeBron in LeBron's prime. Because LeBron probably has a longer prime than everyone else. So, but
not Kobe.
You don't think so?
Kobe had 2 primes, man. The number 8 and the 24 Kobe. That
was
but
LeBron's
long.
prime has been since the day he's walked into the league.
I don't think so.
What? He averaged 20.
That doesn't mean prime.
His freshman or his rookie year. But I'm just saying, all right, so enough of that. But I'm just saying, like, he got LeBron in his prime. They went from a non-playoff team, and they got Kevin Love. But even without Kevin Love, I still think that team would make the final. Or they didn't have him the whole playoffs. So
they didn't have him at all.
Yeah, they didn't have him at all that whole playoffs. So for him
and
to
they lost
not
Kyrie
even
too.
For him, they lost him in the finals.
Yeah.
So for him to not even like show like homage or just like a little respect towards LeBron, it's just like it's definitely rubbing me the wrong way.
I mean, Kyrie's a grown man. If you remember the one game he did play in the finals in 2015, he was cooking stuff.
He was.
And then in 2016, it was Kyrie's shot that won the title. It's LeBron, if you remember, he had the triple-double. He averaged the triple-double. He had a triple-double game 7. He had the block. Amazing. But if you remember, what was LeBron doing in the last minutes offensively? He was jagging a lot of shots. He was missing dunks. He was missing bunnies. Kyrie got the ball in isolation. No set play. No LeBron pick. No LeBron pass. And he hit it over, once again, the unanimous MVP. So, of course, he's going to feel like, I'm nobody's little brother. I'm a grown man. And I'm going to have to go to a different situation, especially since reports are saying that you're going to leave me next year anyway.
Yes, that's a big thing, too.
So why would I stay when you always have my franchise in your hand? I don't feel respected. He's the one that doesn't feel respected because he felt like since he was drafted number 1, the franchise supposed to be built around him. When LeBron got there...
Well, that wasn't LeBron's fault. I would say that's more Dan Gilbert's fault than it was his.
I mean, Kyrie always had this mind state. He thought LeBron was going there to help him out, to mentor him. He didn't think it was going to be a takeover. He thought it was going to be a partnership, but it was an understanding that this was going to be Kyrie's thing.
So you don't think it was a partnership?
No.
I think in Kyrie's mind, I do agree with him. Like, Kyrie definitely wanted to be the man from the jump. But when you have the best player in the league come to your team, there's not really much there's not really much you can do about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, LeBron's been the best player in the league for a long time. So it's not like nothing new. Like, it's not like as soon as he got to Cleveland, he was the best player. You know what I mean? He's been to, 8 straight finals?
Yeah, but I don't think Kyrie cares about what makes sense. Kyrie.
I see that. I mean, he thinks the world's flat, so. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, just a little respect. I mean, even reports were coming out. The first report came out and said he didn't want to play with LeBron anymore. Like, what other player that LeBron's played with throughout his career has ever said that?
I mean, he didn't say that. It was reported. And that's another thing that Kyrie touched upon. All these reports that were coming out of nowhere when he had private conversations with the organization. These reports were started leaking, and that's what made him highly upset because he was trying to handle the situation privately and professional. We started finding out through sources. So it's not like he's been on Twitter rants on other fake profiles saying, I don't want to play with LeBron. Yeah. You know, Kyrie's been trying his hardest to control the situation. It just exploded.
That's true. Well, that's going to do it for us today. From Dee Greatest, Hot Rod, LaFlare, and BT, thank you for joining us on LaFlare Radio. We hope you enjoyed the podcast. We'll be back up next week, next Wednesday, for another episode. So make sure you tune in and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at LaFlare_media.
I just like the sound.